Once upon a time, there was a young woman named Grace. She was kind, gentle, and full of smiles. She lived in a small town with her parents. Everyone in the town liked Grace because she was always helpful. She loved to cook, she loved to clean, and she always said, "Thank you and sorry." Grace had a big dream, to get married to a good man and have a happy family. And one day her dream started to come true. She met a man named Michael. Michael was tall and handsome. He wore fine clothes, drove a shiny car, and had a big smile that made people trust him. When he talked, he sounded smart. When he walked, he looked confident. Everyone said Michael was a good man. He told people that he had worked very hard to become successful, and many believed him. Michael liked Grace from the first day he saw her. He brought her flowers. He called her every day. He made her laugh. And very quickly, Grace started to fall in love with him. After a few months, Michael asked Grace to marry him. He knelt on one knee, held a gold ring, and said, "Grace, will you be my wife?" Grace was so happy she cried. She said yes and hugged him. Everyone in her family clapped and shouted with joy. Her parents were very proud. Her friends danced around her. The whole town talked about how lucky Grace was. Not long after the wedding was planned, Grace found out she was going to have a baby. She was scared at first, but then she smiled. She touched her belly every day and spoke to the baby. "I love you," she would whisper. She told Michael the good news, and he acted happy too. He hugged her and said, "This is the best news ever." He even bought baby clothes and said they would be the best parents in the world. Grace felt lucky. She had love, a baby on the way, and a man who treated her like a queen. The wedding was coming soon. People were excited. Big tents were going to be placed in front of Grace's house. Cooks were ready to prepare rice and chicken and drinks. Her wedding dress was white and long and beautiful. Michael bought a new suit. Her parents were so proud. Her father told her, "You are marrying a good man, Grace. He will take care of you." Grace smiled and said, "Yes, Papa, I believe so." But deep inside, Grace had a small feeling that something was not right. Sometimes Michael would talk on the phone in a low voice. When she came close, he would stop talking. He often asked strange questions about the land behind her father's house. He said, "Is that land for farming? Who owns it?" Grace would say, "It belongs to my family. My grandfather gave it to us." Michael smiled, but it was a strange smile. He asked questions like, "Can it be sold? Can someone else use it?" Grace did not know why he asked so much. She thought maybe he just wanted to help. So she did not worry too much. She thought, "He is my husband. He will never hurt me." Then one day her mother came to her room. She sat beside Grace and held her hand. "My daughter," she said softly, "I know you love Miko, but please be wise. Sometimes a man can wear a good face, but hide a bad heart." Grace looked confused. "Mama, what do you mean?" Her voice shook a little. Her mother replied, "Your father and I are old. We have seen many things. Just promise me you will not rush into trust. Watch carefully. Listen more than you speak." Grace nodded slowly. "Okay, Mama," she said. But in her heart, she still believed that Michael loved her. The day before the wedding, Grace sat in her room holding her wedding dress. It was smooth and white like the clouds. She looked at herself in the mirror and smiled. "Soon I will be a wife," she said to her baby bump. "You will have a father and we will all be happy." Her phone rang. It was Miko. He said he was busy but loved her. Grace felt warm inside. Everything seemed perfect. But she didn't know that a big storm was coming. The next morning was the wedding day. The sun came out bright and happy. Birds sang in the trees. The house was full of guests. People wore bright clothes. Music played from the speakers. Grace was getting ready in her room. Her hair was being done. Her makeup was being painted on. Her friends danced around her. Everyone said, "You look like a princess." Grace smiled. She felt like one. But then she felt a little dizzy. She said, "I need to go outside and breathe." So she stepped out through the back door to get some fresh air. As she walked behind the church where no one could see her, she heard something. It was a voice. It was Michael's voice. He was talking on the phone. Grace stopped walking. She stood very still. The wind blew gently. She stayed quiet and listened. What she heard made her heart stop. Michael said, "Everything is going as planned. Once the wedding is done, the land is mine." The person on the phone said something, and Michael laughed. "Yes, I made sure she kept the baby. With the child, I have full access to her father's land. She doesn't know anything. She's too soft. After I sell the land, I'll deal with her later." Grace covered her mouth with her hands. Her legs shook. She felt like falling. The man she loved was lying. He didn't love her. He didn't want the baby. He only wanted her family's land. He was going to use her, take everything, and throw her away. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Her heart broke into many pieces. Her hands shook. Her baby moved inside her belly as if feeling her pain. Grace turned slowly and walked away. She did not go back inside the church. She did not wear her wedding dress. She did not say goodbye to anyone. She walked past the houses, past the cars, past the people, and kept walking. She left everything behind. Her wedding, her family, her town. All she carried was her small bag and her baby growing inside her. Her white slippers got dusty. Her dress got wrinkled. But she did not stop. She just kept going, step by step, with tears in her eyes and a promise in her heart. She would not let Michael win. She would not let him take the land. She would not let him take her child. She did not know where she was going, but she knew she had to leave. That was the day Grace, the perfect bride, walked away from the perfect lie. And her real story began. Grace kept walking and walking. Her slippers were dusty, her dress was dirty. But she did not stop. Her eyes were red from crying. Her heart was heavy. The baby inside her was quiet now. It was like the baby knew something had gone wrong. Grace held her belly and said softly, "Don't worry, baby. I will protect you. I promise." She had left everything behind: the wedding, the cake, the guests, and even the man she once loved. She had heard with her own ears what Mikko said on the phone. He said he did not love her. He said he wanted her family's land. He said the baby was only a tool to help him get what he wanted. Grace could not believe it, but she knew it was true. She had heard him clearly. He was not the man she thought he was. He was a liar, a pretender, a thief in a fine suit. As she walked past the village, she saw people waving at her, but she did not stop to talk. Some asked, "Grace, where are you going?" She said nothing. She just kept walking. Some followed her, but she moved faster. She walked to the main road where buses stopped to pick up people. There were many loud voices, people shouting where each bus was going. One man said, "Abuja! Abuja! Enter now." Another said, "Lagos! Lagos! Last one." Grace looked around. She did not know where to go. She had never left her town before, but she knew she could not stay. She had to run far away. She had to keep her baby safe. She touched her belly again and whispered, "We are going far away, little one." Then she saw a small bus heading to a quiet town far from her village. The sign on the bus said Owena. She had heard of Owena before. It was peaceful and quiet. Not many people knew her there. It would be a good place to hide. She walked to the driver and asked, "How much?" The driver looked at her from head to toe. 1,000 naira, he said. Grace opened her small purse. She had just a little money left. It was all she had. She gave him the money and entered the bus. She sat at the back near the window. She looked out and watched her old life disappear. The bus moved slowly, then faster, then very fast. The town got smaller and smaller behind her. Inside the bus, people laughed and talked, but Grace stayed quiet. Her heart was still crying. She thought about her parents. They would be looking for her. They would not know where she went. They would think something bad happened. She felt bad for not telling them. But she also felt afraid. What if they didn't believe her? What if they blamed her for running away on her wedding day? What if they asked her to forgive Michael and go back? No, she could not take that chance. Her mother once told her to be wise. Now she was trying to be wise. She had to go and stay away. That was the only way to be safe. After many hours, the bus arrived in Owina. It was evening. The sun was going down. The sky was orange and pink. Grace came down from the bus and stood on the dusty ground. She looked around. There were small houses and little shops. It was not busy like her town. It felt quiet. It felt safe. But she had no one here. She did not know where to go. She sat on a bench by the road and held her bag. Her legs were tired, her eyes were heavy, her stomach growled. She had not eaten all day. Just then, a kind voice called her name. "Grace, is that you?" She looked up slowly. It was her mother's cousin, Auntie Rose. Grace had not seen her in many years. Auntie Rose lived in Owina. She had a small house and sold fruits at the market. "Grace, my child, what are you doing here?" Auntie Rose asked, surprised. Grace could not hold her tears. She stood up and hugged her. She cried and cried. Auntie Rose rubbed her back. "It's okay, my dear. You are safe now. Come, let us go home." That night, Grace told Auntie Rose everything. She told her how Michael planned to use her, how he wanted to sell her father's land, how he only kept the baby to get power, how he lied and pretended, how he was going to throw her away after getting what he wanted. Auntie Rose was shocked. He said, "Oh my God, that boy is a devil." Grace nodded. "I loved him, Auntie, I really did. But now I feel like a fool." Auntie Rose held her hand. "You are not a fool. You are a brave woman. You did the right thing. You walked away before it was too late. Many women stay and suffer, but you left. That means you are strong." Grace stayed in Auntie Rose's house. It was small but warm. She had her own little room. Every day Auntie Rose gave her food and told her stories to make her smile. The baby kicked sometimes, and Grace would talk to the baby. "I'm okay, little one. We're going to be fine." But even as she smiled, she knew she had a lot to think about. She needed a plan. She could not hide forever. In the town she left behind, everything was in chaos. At the church, the guests waited and waited. The music stopped. The cake stood untouched. Michael kept walking around, acting worried. "Where is Grace? What happened?" he asked. People searched the building, the road, everywhere. But Grace was gone. No one saw her leave. Her father was angry. Her mother was crying. Her friends were confused. "She was so happy this morning," they said. What could have happened? Michael sat down and put his head in his hands. He looked like a sad man. But deep inside, he was angry. He had made big plans. He had told the foreign company that the land would be his after the wedding. He had signed some papers already. He had taken some money. Now Grace had ruined everything. "That foolish girl," he said in his heart. Where did she go? He tried calling her phone, but it was off. He sent messages, no reply. He told everyone she was having a panic attack, that maybe the stress was too much. He said, "She's just confused. She'll be back." But days passed, and she never returned. He went to her house and cried in front of her parents. "I don't know what I did wrong," he said. "Please help me find her." Her parents did not know what to believe. They did not know the truth. Her mother remembered her warning. She sat in silence, thinking. Maybe her daughter saw something. Maybe she was right to run. But she had no answers. Back in Owena, Grace started to feel stronger. She began to write things down. She wrote what she heard Michael say. She wrote how he planned to sell the land. She wrote about the baby. She kept all her notes safe in a box. She told herself, one day I will use these. One day I will fight back. Auntie Rose gave her books to read. Books about land, about women's rights, about business. Grace read slowly every night. She wanted to learn, she wanted to grow, she wanted to be ready. She also called a small doctor in the town and went for checkups. The baby was doing well. The doctor said, "You are strong, madam. Just rest and eat well." Grace smiled and thanked her. She bought little baby clothes with the small money she had left. She folded them and placed them beside her bed. Every day she looked at them and smiled. The baby was her light. The baby was her reason to move forward. One evening, as the sun went down, Grace stood outside and looked at the sky. The stars were slowly coming out. She held her belly and said, "Michael tried to use me. He tried to use you, but he failed. He thought I was weak. He thought I would stay silent. But he does not know me. He does not know what I can become." Grace did not have all the answers yet, but she had something stronger afire inside her heart. She was no longer just a sad bride. She was a mother, a woman with a reason to fight, a woman who would not let lies win. The journey ahead was still long, but Grace was ready to walk it. And this was only the beginning. The next morning, Grace woke up early. The sun was shining through the small window in her room. Birds were singing outside. Auntie Rose was already in the kitchen, cooking yam and eggs. The smell filled the house. Grace sat up slowly and touched her belly. The baby moved and she smiled. "Good morning, my little one," she whispered. She got up, folded her bedsheet, and cleaned her small room. She liked to keep it neat. It made her feel calm. She wore a simple gown and went to the kitchen to help Auntie Rose. "Good morning, Auntie," she said with a soft smile. "Good morning, my dear," Auntie Rose replied. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes, I did," Grace said. "Thank you so much for everything." Auntie Rose smiled. "You are my blood. You are not a stranger. This house is your house." They ate breakfast together, and then Auntie Rose went to the market to sell fruits. Grace stayed home to rest, but her heart was full of thoughts. She sat on a small stool near the door and watched people pass by. She saw children laughing and running. She saw women carrying baskets on their heads. She saw old men sitting and playing cards. But her mind was still on the wedding day. She kept thinking about what Michael had said on the phone. The words played again and again in her head. "Once the wedding is done, the land is mine. She doesn't know anything. I'll deal with her later." Those words hurt her like a sharp knife. She thought about how everyone must have been looking for her that day. The guests, the choir, her parents. She imagined them standing in the church, confused and shocked. She saw her father's face, red with anger. She saw her mother crying quietly. She felt sorry for them. But she knew she had done the right thing. She knew she had saved her life and her baby's life. She had no choice. Michael was not who they thought he was. He was not a good man. He was a snake wearing a nice suit. That evening, Auntie Rose came back from the market. She brought some oranges and groundnuts. "Grace," she said, "I heard something today." "What did you hear?" Grace asked. Someone said a young man was on the radio yesterday crying about his missing bride. Grace froze. Was it Michael? Yes, Auntie Rose said. He told people you ran away. He said you were not feeling well, that you had a mental problem. Grace's mouth opened wide. He said that? Yes, Auntie Rose said. He told them you were sick in the head, that the stress made you run away, and now he is looking for you. Grace shook her head slowly. So now I am mad because I refused to be used? Because I refused to let him take what belongs to my family? Auntie Rose came close and held her hand. Don't worry, Grace. Let him say what he wants. Truth does not hide forever. One day, the world will know. Grace nodded. I will not be silent, Auntie. But I need to be wise. I need to plan. I need to understand everything he was trying to do. He said something about the land and the baby. He said it like he knew some law that would help him if I gave birth. Auntie Rose rubbed her chin. Maybe it's about inheritance. Maybe if you marry him and give him a child, he can say he is part of the family. That way he can claim the land. Grace's eyes opened wide. Yes, and that must be it. He didn't want me. He wanted the baby as a key to open the land. Auntie Rose nodded. That boy is clever, but evil. You must learn more. Ask questions. Read. Find people who know the law. From that day, Grace began to learn. She asked Auntie Rose to take her to the local library. The library was small but had good books. Grace found books about land, marriage, and family rights. She read slowly, underlining parts she did not understand. She borrowed the books and read them at home. She wrote notes in a small blue notebook. She learned about land titles. She learned about inheritance rules. She learned how women could protect what belongs to them. She learned that many people had been cheated because they did not know their rights. Each night she sat at the small table and read. Sometimes her eyes hurt, but she kept going. She read while the baby kicked in her belly. She read with a heart full of faggot. She wrote down names of lawyers she found in newspapers. She made plans. She even started writing a long letter to her parents, not to beg, but to explain, to tell them why she ran, to show them the truth. But she did not send the letter yet. She wanted to wait. She needed more proof. Meanwhile, back in her village, things were not going well for Mikko. After the wedding was canceled, many people started asking questions. Some guests said they saw Grace leave early in the morning. Others said she looked sad the day before. Her best friend told someone, "She told me she was worried. She said Mikko was hiding something." Slowly, people began to wonder if there was more to the story. Michael's fake tears were no longer enough. Her mother stopped talking to him. Her father said, "No one brings shame to my house like this and gets away with it." Worse still, the foreign company that Michael had promised the land started calling him every day. "Where is the land? You said it would be yours after the wedding." Michael lied and said, "There was a small delay, but the company said, 'We have paid you money already. If you don't deliver, we will involve the police.'" Michael became afraid. He had spent some of the money already. He tried to find Grace. He sent people to ask around. But no one knew where she was. It was like she disappeared into thin air. Grace smiled when Auntie Rose told her this news. "He's running in circles," she said. "He thinks he is smart, but now he's trapped." Auntie Rose laughed. "He will learn that you don't play games with people's lives." One day, Grace went to the market with Auntie Rose. She wore a simple scarf and a big gown. She did not want anyone to know her. At the market, she saw women selling tomatoes, onions, and pepper. She helped Auntie Rose arrange the fruits on the table. She greeted people politely and smiled. One woman said, "You are new here. What is your name?" Grace paused, then said, My name is Sarah. It was a name she chose to hide herself. The woman smiled and said, You look gentle, Sarah. May God bless your baby. Grace smiled back. Amen. At night, when they returned home, Grace sat outside and looked at the stars again. She held her blue notebook close. Inside it were her notes, her plans, her ideas. She said softly, I will not hide forever, but I will come out when the time is right, and when I do, I will come out strong. She looked down at her belly and smiled. You are my strength, little one. You gave me a reason to live again. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Grace stayed in Owena, learning and growing. Her belly got bigger. She walked slowly but with purpose. People in the town liked her. They said she was kind and respectful. No one knew her secret. Only Auntie Rose did, and she kept it safe. Then one morning, Grace woke up and felt something new, a sharp pain in her stomach. She took a deep breath. The pain came again. She called Auntie Rose. I think it's time, she said. Auntie Rose ran to get a taxi. They rushed to the small clinic in town. The nurses were ready. The doctor smiled and said, Don't worry, madam, you are in good hands. After many hours of pain and pushing, Grace heard a loud cry. The baby was born, a beautiful baby boy. His skin was soft. His hands were tiny. His eyes opened and looked around. Grace held him and cried tears of joy. Welcome, my son, she whispered. You are safe now. No one will hurt you. Auntie Rose came in and hugged her. You did well, Grace. You are a mother now. Grace smiled. Yes, Auntie. And I will be the best mother I can be. She named him David. A strong name. A name of a fighter. A name of a king. Grace held David close and knew her life had changed forever. She had left behind her old world. She had become someone new, a mother, a fighter, a woman with a purpose. And even though the road ahead was still long, she was ready. Because now, she had something worth fighting for. And she was not afraid anymore. Grace sat on the hospital bed and held her baby boy close to her chest. His name was David, and he was sleeping softly in her arms. His small nose, tiny hands, and little fingers made her heart full of love. She had never felt love like this before. She looked down at him and smiled. You are my joy, she whispered. You are the reason I will never give up. Auntie Rose sat beside the bed, smiling too. He looks just like you, she said. He is a strong boy. Grace nodded. He is strong already. He came into this world with strength. The nurse came in and gave Grace warm food and water. She ate slowly, still looking at her baby. The doctor said she could go home the next day. Grace was happy. She wanted to take David home. She wanted to give him a safe, happy life. That night, Grace did not sleep much. She just watched David sleep, touched his little head, and thanked God that he was safe. The next morning, Grace and Auntie Rose went home. Auntie Rose cleaned the room and made a small bed for David. She laid soft cloths in a basket and made a cozy space for him. Grace sat nearby, holding David close. From now on, she said, I am not just Grace. I am David's mother. I must protect him. I must raise him well. I must be strong. Each day, Grace woke up early to feed David. She cleaned him, bathed him, and sang to him. She called him sweet names like my prince, my sunshine, and my little lion. David smiled when he heard her voice. He liked to hold her finger with his tiny hand. Grace felt warm inside. She had lost a lot, but she had gained something greater. But life was not easy. Grace had little money left. Auntie Rose helped her with food and clothes, but she could not do everything. Grace knew she had to find a way to make money. She thought hard. One day she told Auntie Rose, "I want to start a small business." Auntie Rose said, "That is a good idea. What do you want to do?" Grace said, "I want to make baby clothes. I will sew them and sell them." Auntie Rose smiled. "That is smart. You love babies. You are careful and neat. People will buy from you." Grace borrowed a small sewing machine from a neighbor. She bought cheap cloth from the market. She made simple baby shirts and pants. She added little flowers and buttons. They looked nice. She showed them to the women in town. They loved the clothes. They told others. Soon, Grace had her own small table at the market. She named her shop Little Joys. She put her clothes on display. People came and bought them. They also told her, "You are brave. You are doing well for a young mother." Grace smiled and said, "Thank you." But inside, she was still carrying pain. She still remembered Mikkel's voice on the phone. She still remembered the wedding that never happened. She still remembered the land he wanted to steal. The pain never left her. It was still there, like a sharp stone inside her heart. But she did not let it stop her. She used it as fire. Fire to work hard, fire to grow, fire to learn. Every night after David slept, Grace opened her notebook. She read her old notes about land, inheritance, and law. She wrote new notes. She read more books from the library. She asked questions. She met a woman lawyer named Barrister Chinello. Barrister Chinello liked Grace and said, "You are a smart young woman. I will teach you some things." She showed Grace how to read legal papers. She explained land titles and rights. Grace listened with sharp ears. She asked many questions. The lawyer said, "You will make a good legal assistant one day." Grace smiled. "I don't want to be a lawyer, Ma. I just want to protect what is mine. I want to protect my family land. I want to protect other women like me who don't know the truth." Barrister Chinello nodded. "That is a good reason." Time passed. David began to grow. He laughed more. He sat up. He tried to crawl. Grace clapped and cheered for every little thing he did. She bought a second-hand phone and took pictures of him. She wrote little notes in a baby book. Today, David smiled. Today, David said, "Ma." Today, David took one small step. Her business grew slowly. She saved every naira she could. She opened a small account in the bank. She told the banker, "This is for my son's future." At night, she prayed, "God, thank you for giving me strength. Thank you for helping me stand." One day, Grace walked past a newspaper stand. She saw a paper with Michael's face on the front. The title said, "Businessman in Trouble Over Land Deal." Grace stopped. She picked up the paper. She read quickly. It said Michael had taken money from a foreign company to sell a large piece of land. But the land was not in his name. The deal had failed. The company wanted their money back. They were going to report him to the police. Grace smiled. So now the truth is chasing him. She took the paper home and showed Auntie Rose. Auntie Rose laughed. "God does not sleep. That boy thought he could cheat people and walk free." Grace nodded. "He thought I would keep quiet. He thought I would cry and hide. But he was wrong." That night, Grace sat down and wrote a letter. Not just any letter, a clear, strong letter. She wrote about Michael's lies. She wrote about what he said on the phone. She wrote about how he used her and wanted her family's land. She wrote about how she ran away. She wrote that she had given birth and was now safe. She wrote that she had learned the truth and was ready to speak. She sealed the letter and kept it safe. She said, "One day, I will send this to the right people, and the world will know." As days passed, Grace felt something new inside her. She felt bold. She felt ready. She was no longer afraid. She was not just the girl who ran away. She was not just the bride who vanished. She was not just a sad mother. She had become more. She had become wiser, stronger, and braver. One Sunday, Grace took David to church. It was his first time. She wore a clean dress and tied a yellow scarf on her head. David wore a white shirt with tiny stars. Everyone smiled at them. The pastor said, "Today we welcome a mother and child who have fought hard and stood strong. May God bless them." Grace stood and held David high. The people clapped. After church, a woman came to her and said, "I heard your story from Auntie Rose. You are an inspiration. Please talk to the young girls in our school. Teach them to be strong, too." Grace agreed. The next week, she spoke to the girls. She told them, "Know who you are. Don't let anyone lie to you. Protect what belongs to you. Be strong." The girls clapped and asked her questions. Grace answered them kindly. She felt proud. She felt useful. Later that evening, she sat outside with David on her lap. She looked at the stars again. She said, "I was broken before, but I am healing now. I was lost. But I found my way. You, my son, are my light in the dark. And one day, we will go back. Not to beg, but to stand tall. We will go back to finish what they tried to steal. We will go back for justice." And as the cool wind blew, she closed her eyes and smiled. She was not afraid of the dark anymore, because from the darkness, she had been reborn. The morning sun came through the window and touched Grace's face. She opened her eyes slowly. David was already awake, sitting up beside her and smiling. He had grown fast. His legs were strong now. He could walk around the house. He loved to laugh, clap, and sing small songs. Grace kissed his cheek and said, "Good morning, my champion." David giggled and touched her face. She picked him up and carried him to the kitchen, where Auntie Rose was already making breakfast. The smell of beans and bread filled the house. "Good morning, Annie," Grace said. "Good morning, my dear," Annie Rose replied. "Today looks like a good day." Grace sat down and fed David while she ate her own food. Her heart felt light, but her mind was full. She had been thinking about something for many days. It was time. Time to return home. Time to face the truth. Time to let the world know what Michael had done. Time to protect the land he tried to steal. Grace looked at Auntie Rose and said, "Auntie, I want to go back. I want to go home." Auntie Rose looked at her carefully. "Are you sure?" she asked. "Yes, I am," Grace said. "I am not going back to cry or beg. I am going back with my head high. I have my child. I have my truth. I have proof. I have learned the law. I have saved money. I have contacts now, and most of all, I am no longer afraid." Auntie Rose smiled. "You are truly ready." Grace nodded. "I want to go with a lawyer. Barrister Chinello said she can help. I want to show my parents the truth. I want them to know what Michel planned. I want to get back the papers for our family land. I want Michel to face what he did." Later that day, Grace went to see Barrister Chinello. She carried all her notes, letters, and voice recordings. She also had pictures of the land, her family house, and copies of the land documents her father once showed her long ago. She gave everything to Barrister Chinello and said, "This is all I have." The lawyer looked through the papers and said, "This is very good. You have done the right thing. With this, we can make a strong case." Grace asked, "Can we find out if Michael did anything illegal?" The lawyer said, "Yes, I will search land records. I will also check with the foreign company he made the deal with. If he collected money using false documents, that is a crime." Grace felt a small fear in her chest. What if he tries to lie again? The lawyer smiled. "Then we will bring out the truth." For 2 weeks, Grace and the lawyer worked together. They wrote letters. They made phone calls. They searched government records. They found that Michael had used a fake signature to show he had rights to the land. He even put Grace's name on some papers without her knowing. He had taken money from the company and promised to sell them the land. But now the company wanted their money back, and Michael was in deep trouble. One evening, the lawyer called Grace and said, "We are ready. We can go to your village tomorrow. I have the file. I have the evidence. I have spoken to the local chief and to a land officer. They are ready to hear you." Grace told Annie Rose. They packed clothes, food, baby things, and all their documents. Early the next morning, they entered a car with Barrister Chinello and began the journey. The road was long. David slept in Grace's arms. She looked out the window and saw trees, rivers, and small towns passing by. Her heart beat fast. She was going home after so many years. But this time, she was not going as a bride. She was going as a mother, as a woman, as a warrior. They arrived in the village in the afternoon. It looked the same. The streets were quiet. The people were busy in the shops. But as they entered her family's compound, everything felt different. Her father was sitting outside reading a newspaper. Her mother was peeling yam. When they saw Grace, they stood up slowly. "Mama, Papa," Grace said, holding to David close. Her mother dropped the knife and ran to hug her. "My daughter, you are alive. You are safe." Her father came closer, but he looked unsure. "Where have you been all this time?" he asked. Grace held his hand. "Please, Papa, let me explain everything." They went inside the house and sat down. Grace told them the full story. She told them how she heard Michael's call on the wedding day, how he planned to use the baby and take their land, how he lied to her, how he fooled everyone, how she ran away to protect her child, how she gave birth, how she learned about the law, how she found proof of Michael's fake land deal, how he forged papers, how he is now in trouble. Her parents listened in silence. Her mother cried. Her father closed his eyes and said nothing. When she finished, she brought out the documents and gave them to her father. "Here," she said. "These are the true land papers. Keep them safe. And this," she pointed to the lawyer, "this is Barrister Chinello. She is helping us take Michael to court." Her father opened the papers slowly. His eyes moved over the words. He saw the fake signature. He saw the money deal. He saw the lies. Then he looked at Grace and said, "My daughter, I am sorry. I did not believe you. I thought you ran away for a silly reason. But you were saving us. You were saving everything I built. You are braver than I knew." Her mother hugged her and David tightly. "We are proud of you," she said. Grace wiped her tears and said, "I came back because I am not afraid anymore. It's time to stop Michael for good." The next day, they all went to the local land office. The land officer checked the documents. He said, "These are real. The land belongs to your family. This man called Michael had no right to sell it." The lawyer filed a case at the court. The news spread quickly. "Michael is being taken to court," people said. "Grace is back." Some people were shocked. Some were happy. Some were scared for Michael. When Michael heard the news, he was very angry. He called people. He tried to block the case. But the truth was already out. The court gave him a letter. He was told to come and explain himself. He wore a fine suit and acted calm, but inside, he was shaking. He didn't know Grace had proof. He didn't know she had a lawyer. He didn't know she had returned stronger. In court, Grace sat with her lawyer and her parents. David sat quietly in her arms. The judge came in. Everyone stood up. Then the lawyer stood and showed all the documents. She played the voice recording of Michael's phone call. His voice filled the room. Everyone listened in shock. "I made sure she kept the baby," Once we marry, the land is mine. She doesn't know anything." The judge looked at Mikhail. "Is this your voice?" Mikhail was quiet. His face turned pale, his hands shook. The judge said again, "Is this you?" Mikhail said nothing. The court gave him 7 days to bring his lawyer and defend himself. But everyone already knew the truth. The papers were fake. The deal was illegal. The baby was used as a trick. Michael was a liar. The news spread all over the village. People said, "So that is why the bride ran away." Grace walked out of the court with her head high. People came to her. "You are brave," they said. "We are sorry we judged you." Grace smiled and said, "Thank you." That night her father came to her room and said, "You have done something great. You have saved this family. You have saved the land. I want you to take over the land records. Keep them safe. Teach your son about them too." Grace nodded with tears in her eyes. "I will, Papa. I will protect it forever." Outside, the moon was full and bright. David was asleep in her arms. Grace looked at the sky and said, "We are back. We are safe." And this is just the beginning. Michael's ruin had begun, and Grace had taken the first strong step in her long walk of justice. The next few days were busy for Grace and her family. Everyone in the house was getting ready for the court case. Barrister Chinello came every morning to talk about the case and prepare all the documents. Grace read every paper. She asked questions and made notes. Her father kept the land files locked in a small metal box. Her mother cooked healthy food and took care of David while Grace worked with the lawyer. The house was full of movement and purpose. Even little David could feel it. He walked around the sitting room, holding his toy spoon and clapping his hands. Sometimes he would crawl into Grace's lap while she was reading, and she would kiss his head and whisper, "Mama is working to keep you safe." Soon the day of the big court hearing came. Grace dressed in a simple green gown and tied a neat scarf. She held David close as they entered the court building. Her parents were with her. Barrister Chinello walked beside them, holding a brown folder full of documents. When they got to the courtroom, it was already full of people. Many had come to watch. Some were from the village. Some were from the town nearby. They all wanted to hear what would happen. Some whispered to each other, "That is the girl who ran away from her wedding." Others said, "That's Mayel's case. I heard it's about land and lies." Michel arrived shortly after. He wore a dark blue suit and shiny shoes. He came with his own lawyer, a short man with a small briefcase. Miko looked around the room and tried to smile. But when he saw Grace sitting in the front row holding David and sitting tall beside her lawyer, his smile disappeared. He looked away quickly. Grace looked at him calmly. She didn't blink. She didn't smile. She just stared, strong and silent. Her heart was beating fast, but her face showed no fear. The judge walked in. Everyone stood up. Then they all sat down. The judge looked serious. He wore glasses and had gray hair. He said, "We are here to hear the case of land fraud between Miss Grace Eze and Mr. Michiel Odu. Let the case begin." Barrister Chinello stood up and began to speak. She spoke clearly and slowly so everyone could understand. "Your Honor," she said, "we are here because my client, Grace Eze, was tricked by the man she was supposed to marry. This man, Mr. Michiel, made a plan to steal her family's land. He used lies. He used fake papers. He even used her unborn baby as part of his trick. But she found out and ran away to protect herself and her child. Now we have come with proof, and we ask this court to give her justice." The judge nodded. "Go on." Barrister Chinello brought out the land papers. She showed the real ones, signed by Grace's grandfather and father many years ago. Then she brought out the fake ones, Mikhail had made. The two papers looked almost the same, but the signatures were different. She pointed to the parts that were wrong. The judge looked closely. Then she played the voice recording from Grace's phone. Michael's voice filled the room. Everyone heard him say, "Once the wedding is done, the land is mine. She doesn't know anything. I'll deal with her later." There was silence in the courtroom. People looked at Mikhail. Some covered their mouths in shock. Some shook their heads. The judge looked at Mikhail and asked, "Is this your voice?" Mikhail looked down. He didn't answer. His lawyer stood up and said, "Your Honor, we cannot confirm if the voice belongs to my client. It could have been edited." But the judge replied, "We will test the audio. If it matches his voice, the court will know." Barrister Chinello brought out more proof. She had bank slips showing that Mikhail had collected money from the foreign company. She had emails. She had messages. She had everything. Then she said, "Your Honor, my client was not just hurt emotionally. She was used. Her family land was almost lost. This man tried to destroy her life and her name. She had to run away and give birth alone, all because of his greed. We asked this court to punish him and to protect her rights." Now it was Michael's turn to speak. He stood up slowly. His face looked tired. He cleared his throat. "Your Honor, I admit that I made a mistake. But I loved Grace. I did not mean to harm her. I was trying to build a future for us. I thought I could help manage the land. Yes, I spoke on the phone, but I was angry that day. I did not mean what I said." The judge looked at him carefully. "Did you take money from the company?" Michael said, "Yes, but I thought the land would be mine after the wedding." "Did you sign fake papers?" the judge asked. Michael paused, then he said, "Yes, but I was going to fix it." The judge nodded slowly. "So you lied, you cheated, and you planned to cover it up later?" Michael said nothing. The judge turned to Grace. "Do you have anything to say?" Grace stood up. Her voice was soft but strong. "Your Honor, I loved him. I was carrying his child. I trusted him. But he used me. He laughed behind my back. He wanted to take what my father worked for. He thought I would never speak up, but I found courage. I will not let him take what belongs to my family. I came to ask for justice." The judge looked at the people in the room. Then he said, "This court will take 1 week to study the case and give judgment." Outside the court, the news spread fast. People posted on social media. Some said, "Grace has come back strong." Others said, "Michael is finished." People in the village who once believed Mikhail now stayed silent. His friends stopped answering his calls. His name was on the radio. His company partners dropped him. They didn't want to work with someone who cheated and lied. At home, Grace sat with David and smiled. "We did it," she whispered. "We told the truth. Now we wait." During the week, Mikhail tried many things. He called Grace. He sent messages. He begged. "Please don't ruin me," he said. "Let's talk." But Grace didn't reply. She blocked his number. She said to her mother, "He wants to talk now because he's afraid. But when I cried, he didn't care. When I was alone, he didn't call. When I gave birth, he didn't even ask if we were alive. He showed his heart. Now he must face the truth." Annie Rose came to visit them. She brought food and toys for David. She hugged Grace tightly. "You have done well," she said. "You are a lioness. You stood and fought. I am so proud of you." Grace smiled and said, "I couldn't have done it without you, Annie." The day of judgment came. The courtroom was full again. The judge entered and sat down. He opened his book and said, "This case has been carefully studied. All the documents and recordings were checked. The voice belongs to Mr. Michael. The land papers were fake. The money deal was illegal. This court finds Mr. Michael guilty of fraud, forgery, and abuse of trust. People gasped. Michael closed his eyes. His lawyer looked down. The judge continued. Mr. Michael will return all the money he took. He will pay a fine to the government. He will not go near the Easy family land again. All rights return fully to Mr. Eze and his daughter Grace. And this court praises Miss Grace Eze for her bravery and for bringing truth to light. The room clapped. Some stood up. Grace's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled wide. She held David close. Her father held her hand. Her mother wiped her eyes. Barrister Chinello patted her shoulder and said, "You did it." As they walked out of court, reporters came. "Grace, how do you feel?" one asked. She said, "I feel free. I feel strong. And I hope other women will learn to speak up too." That evening, they had a small party at home. They cooked jollof rice and chicken. Friends came and danced. Grace wore a bright red dress. David wore a tiny white shirt and black shoes. He danced too, shaking his little arms. Everyone laughed and sang. Grace stood in the middle of the room and said, "Thank you, everyone. This journey was not easy, but I made it, and I promise to help other women fight for what is right." Outside, the stars were bright. The moon smiled down. Grace held David close and whispered, "We are safe. We are strong, and we are never going back to fear." The courtroom war was over, and Grace had won. The next morning, Grace woke up with the sound of birds singing outside her window. David was already standing in his small bed, smiling and clapping. He had just turned 2 years old and was now full of energy. Grace picked him up and kissed his cheek. "Good morning, my sunshine," she said. "We have a new day." The house was still quiet. Her parents were not yet awake, and the sun was just coming up. Grace took David to the front yard and sat on a bench. She breathed in the fresh air and looked at the sky. She felt peace inside her heart. The court had given her justice. Her family land was safe. Michael had been punished. But she also knew that the story was not over. There was still more to come. Later that day, Grace heard a knock at the gate. It was a man from a local newspaper. He had heard about the court case and wanted to interview her. Grace was surprised. She had not planned to speak to the media, but her father said, "Let people hear the truth from your mouth. Let the world know you were right." Grace nodded slowly. She sat down with the reporter and told him the full story. How she met Mikko, how he planned to use her, how she ran away, gave birth alone, and came back strong to fight for what was hers. The reporter wrote everything down and took a picture of Grace and David. "Thank you," he said. "Your story will help many people." 2 days later, the newspaper came out. On the front page, there was a big picture of Grace holding David. The title said, "Bride who disappeared returns to defeat greedy groom in court." Everyone in the village read the story. Some read it aloud to others who could not read. People in nearby towns bought the paper too. The story spread fast. Then it moved to social media. People started sharing the story online. More newspapers picked it up. Soon radio stations were talking about it. Some even said it on TV. "Young woman defeats ex-fiancé in land fraud case," one station said. "She ran away pregnant but came back powerful," said another. Everywhere Grace went, people stopped her. They said, "You are the girl from the paper. We are proud of you. You are brave." Grace always smiled and said, "Thank you." But she kept her heart humble. She didn't let the praise make her proud. She only wanted her story to help others. She told every woman who stopped her, "Don't be afraid to speak up. Learn your rights, protect yourself, and never let anyone use you." But while Grace was being praised, Mikhail was falling. His name became known for the wrong reasons. People called him the greedy groom and the man who wanted to steal land. His business partners pulled away. His company lost money. Some clients refused to pay him. Others asked for refunds. They said, "We can't trust a man who lied to his own bride." Michael's office became quiet. His workers started leaving. His best friend stopped answering his calls. His landlord asked him to leave the house he was renting. Even his own family was ashamed. His mother said, "Why did you do this? You have brought shame to us." His father said, "You had everything, and you lost it because of greed." Michael tried to fix things. He went on the radio and said, "People don't know the full story." He tried to post on social media saying, "I made mistakes, but I am not a bad man." But people did not believe him. They replied with angry comments. They said, "You used a woman and her baby for land. You deserve what you got. Shame on you." Every time Michiel opened his phone, he saw insults. He couldn't sleep well. He stayed inside his room for many days. He didn't go to work. He didn't eat much. His life had changed completely. Meanwhile, Grace continued to rise. The government of the town heard about her story and invited her to speak at a women's event. The hall was full. Many girls and women came to listen. Grace stood on stage and told them, "I was once afraid. I was once tricked. But I found my voice. I found my power. You can too." The people clapped loudly. Some even cried. After the event, many girls came to her and hugged her. They said, "Thank you for telling your story. You give us hope." Grace started a small group in her village called Stand Strong Sisters. Every week, women came together to learn about their rights. Grace brought books and called lawyers to speak. She taught them how to read land papers. She showed them how to write simple letters. She even taught them how to start small businesses like hers. "Even if you don't have much," she said, "you can grow something small." Her sewing business also grew. She started getting orders from other towns. People wanted baby clothes made by the strong woman from the court. Grace hired 2 young girls to help her sew. She paid them well and taught them too. She opened a small shop beside her father's house. She named it David's Threads. She put a picture of herself and David on the shop wall. One day, while sweeping the shop floor, she heard a soft knock at the door. It was Michiel. He looked thin and tired. His shirt was old. His shoes were dusty. He looked nothing like the man she once knew. "Great," he said. "Please, can I talk to you?" Grace stood still. Her heart beat fast. But she took a deep breath and said, "You can speak here. I am listening." Michiel lowered his head. "I just want to say I'm sorry. I know I hurt you. I lost everything. My business is gone. My name is ruined. I have nothing left." Grace looked at him. "Why are you here?" she asked calmly. "I don't want anything from you," he said. "I just came to say sorry." Grace looked into his eyes. "I forgive you," she said. "But not because of you. I forgive you because I want peace in my heart. But never forget what you did. You tried to take everything from me. You used me. You lied. But I rose above it." Michiel nodded. He looked at the picture of her and David on the wall. He smiled a little and said, "He looks like me." Grace said, "No, he looks like himself." Michiel turned and walked away. He did not come back again. Grace closed the shop and went home. She told her mother what happened. Her mother held her and said, "You are truly strong. You have healed." Grace smiled and hugged David. "Yes, Mama, I am free now." That weekend, the village held a big event. It was the annual celebration of Women's Day. Grace was called to lead the parade. She walked in front with David in her arms. Behind her were many women holding signs that said, Stand strong, know your rights, and our voice matters. People clapped as they passed. Drums played, children danced. Grace smiled from ear to ear. She had come a long way, from a crying bride to a strong leader, from a girl who ran away to a woman who stood tall. That night after the celebration, Grace stood outside her house and looked at the stars. The same stars she used to cry under. The same sky she looked at when she promised to fight. She held David close and whispered, "We did it, my boy. The world now knows. The truth is out. We are safe. We are strong. And no one will ever use us again." The world had turned against Mikhail, but Grace had turned her pain into power. And she was not done yet. The next morning after the big Women's Day celebration, Grace woke up early. The sun was just rising and the sky was pink and orange. Birds were singing. David was still sleeping, holding his small teddy bear close. Grace got out of bed quietly so she wouldn't wake him. She walked to the window and looked outside. The trees were dancing gently in the wind. She smiled. Her heart was full of peace. Her mind was full of thanks. The land was still theirs. Her family name was clean. Her child was safe. Her voice had been heard. The battle was over, and she had won. Grace made hot tea and sat in the small garden beside her house. She thought about everything that had happened. She thought about the day she heard Mikhail on the phone. She thought about the night she ran away. She remembered the pain of giving birth alone. The nights she could not sleep, the times she had no money, the fear, the sadness. But she also thought about the people who helped her. Auntie Rose, Barrister Chinello, her parents, and little David, who gave her strength every day. Later that day, Grace went to the back of their house to see the land. The same land Michael tried to take. The land her grandfather worked on. The land where she used to run and play as a child. The land full of green trees and soft, brown soil. She walked through it slowly, touching the plants. "You are still here," she whispered. "You waited for me." Her father joined her, holding a small basket. "Come," he said. "Let's plant something together." They both knelt down and planted small yams into the soil. Her father showed her how to cover the roots with just enough earth. "This land is strong," he said. "It gives back to those who care for it." Grace nodded. "I will teach David to love it too." In the following weeks, Grace made plans to turn the land into a small farm. She wanted it to feed people. She wanted it to give jobs to young girls and boys in the village. She called it Hope Farm. She got help from the local council, who gave her tools and seedlings. She also spoke to her sewing girls, and some of them joined to help with planting. Together, they planted corn, okra, tomatoes, and cassava. They made a water line from the stream nearby. Every morning, Grace walked to the farm with David on her back. She taught him the names of the plants. "This is maize," she said. "This is ugu leaf. This is pepper." David laughed and pointed. He liked the feel of the leaves on his fingers. People in the village were amazed. They said, "Grace has turned pain into power. She has made the land come alive again." Women brought their daughters to learn from her. Men came to buy vegetables. The farm began to grow. The sewing shop still worked too, and she now had 4 girls sewing baby clothes. Grace gave part of her money to help send 2 of the girls to school. She told them, "Education is power. Never forget that." One sunny day, Grace received a letter. It was from a group in the city. They had heard about her story and wanted to give her an award. They said she had become a voice for women's rights and land protection. The award would be given in a big hall in front of many people. Grace felt shy at first, but her father said, "Go, you have earned this." Her mother said, "Let the world clap for you." The day of the award came. Grace wore a long green dress made by her sewing girls. She carried David in her arms and held a paper in her hand. The hall was full. When her name was called, she walked to the stage. People stood and clapped loudly. Some even shouted her name. "Grace! Grace! Grace!" She took the microphone and looked at everyone. "Thank you," she said. "I was once a girl who was almost broken. I was used and left alone. But I stood up. I found my voice. I fought back. I did not win because I was lucky. I won because I did not give up. My story is not just mine. It is for every girl who feels afraid, for every woman who was told to keep quiet. You are not weak. You are not small. You are enough. Stand up, speak up, and never let anyone take what is yours." The crowd clapped again. Some wiped tears from their eyes. Grace stepped down from the stage and hugged David tightly. He didn't understand everything, but he smiled, and that was enough for her. After the event, a woman came to her and said, "Can you help other villages too? Teach them how to protect their land?" Grace said, "Yes, I will go. I will teach. No one should ever be tricked like I was." She began traveling to nearby towns. She spoke to chiefs, leaders, and women groups. She gave them simple booklets with pictures and steps. "Here is how to check your land papers," she said. "Here is what to do when someone tries to steal your land." One evening, when she returned from one of her visits, Grace sat outside with her father. They looked at the land again. The plants had grown taller. The corn was almost ready to harvest. Her father smiled. "You saved this land, my daughter," he said. "You saved this family. One day, this land will be yours and David's." Grace nodded. "I will never let go of it, Papa. Not now, not ever." As the sky grew dark, Grace sat quietly and thought about Michal. She had not seen him again since that day at her shop. She didn't know where he was. Some said he moved far away. Others said he was trying to start over. She didn't hate him, but she didn't think of him much anymore. He was the past, and she was walking forward. She looked at David, now running around the yard with a big smile. She called him. "Come here, my king." He ran to her and hugged her legs. She lifted him and kissed his cheek. "You are the reason I kept going," she said. "You are the light that led me home." That night, Grace wrote something in her notebook. She wrote, "The land was never lost. It was waiting for me to fight for it, and now it is ours forever." The stars were bright in the sky again, the same stars that watched her cry years ago. Now they were shining on her with joy. And in that moment, Grace knew the truth. She didn't just protect her land. She had found her strength. She had found her purpose. She had found herself. The same stars that watched her cry years ago, now they were shining on her with joy. And in that moment, Grace knew the truth. She didn't just protect her land. She had found her strength. She had found her purpose. She had found herself.